If you are about to get into handheld labeling, you really only have two choices: the brother or the dymo. Which one should you choose? This video is about the tapes themselves. I'm gonna demonstrate them on older models. However, the current today models of the printers use these same standard of tapes. The first thing we see about them is that the brother on the left is significantly larger than the dymo on the right. This is the TZ standard, and this is the D1. This has 8 meters worth of label material, and the D1 has 7 meter worth of label material. But it's a lot smaller. It contains a lot less plastic and obviously occupies a lot less space. Let's see how they work. When you put this into a machine, this hole in the cartridge gets filled up with the thermal printer element itself. And the printing happens right there. And when the label is printed, you can cut it right there. This little notch here is actually where the blade goes in. So as you can see, it prints, and like millimeters later, you can cut the label. This is very important because this lets you not waste your precious printing material. Because out there on the field, just a couple meters is not a whole lot. And also, these cartridges go for kind of expensive. Although, the D1 is still significantly cheaper than a TZ tape. More on that later. Let's print something. I'm going to leave this here as a reference. Now let's take a look at the brother cartridge. It's different, but the principle of how it works is the same. The big difference, though, is that while the printing and the cutting is so close to each other on the D1 cassette, they're significantly further away on the TZ. See, it happens here, the printing, and the cutting happens all the way above the cartridge. See, the printing here, and the cutting element is way up here. Now, as you can see, it is physically impossible to print a label that doesn't have at least as much dead zone as that distance. See, this dead zone here fits in there multiple times. And you will see tutorials on the internet about how to cut on that dead zone, but you can only do that after each label. Oh, and by the way, here's the setting for it. It says margin, and it's already set to narrow. But if you take the batteries out for whatever reason, like, changing them, it goes back to normal. All right, let's print something. Wow, that's a huge ass dead zone. Let's compare. Oh boy, that's more than 2 centimeters. And this is narrow setting, mind you. Well, my tip, if you absolutely have to use brother, and there is a reason why you might should, the tip is, if you want to print multiple labels, just type them in one line continuously. Don't hit print multiple times, because that will only result in dead times, this dead zone, wasted from your tape. Why on earth would you choose the brother over the dymo? Well, the brother tapes, they are laminated, which means the print is actually on the flip side of a plastic film which covers your label. So, if for any reason your label is touched daily, it won't wear out the actual print on it. While on the other hand, the dymo is non-laminated, which means that the letters are printed on the outside of the tape, so they can get worn. I think the design philosophy here was, okay, let's make a handheld portable label printing machine, and let's keep it reasonable. While here, the design philosophy was like, okay, let's show them something else. Let's give them a little plus, and that was the lamination. But otherwise, scam the living hell out of them. Bonus content. As you can see, this is not a brother machine. This is an old electromechanical typewriter. I will use this to demonstrate brother's tape economy. Well, the comparison may seem unfair, but it's fair. You'll see why. Did you know carbon film ribbons were available for this kind of machine? Let's take a look how this machine uses that material. Keep in mind that this machine was originally designed for reusable ribbons, and the carbon film ribbon is usable only once, which means the spool goes through one time and you throw it away. Much like the thermal transfer tape in, the label printing machines. So, let's type a little and see how this machine deals with the ribbon, which the ink comes from. Okay. I won't type much because of neighbors. Now, let's take a look at the ribbon. As you can see on the ribbon, the letters I typed are quite close to each other. Sometimes they are kind of on each other. Fair enough. We don't want to hit the same part of the ribbon twice. And in case of a typewriter, we can actually manipulate some sort of speed difference between the paper, the medium, and the ink ribbon. Because they are different mediums. Unlike in this, when these two mediums have to roll at the same speed, because otherwise the mechanism would be much larger and more expensive. Now, let's take a look how a brother typewriter deals with the same question. Back to original brother hardware. As you can see, this is a Brother AX15 daisy wheel completely electronic typewriter. It uses cartridges, tape cartridges of carbon film tape. Now let's type a little in here. When it comes to print quality, nothing comes close to this technology. But let's take a look how it uses the cartridge. Here are the letters, spaced out evenly. When you take a close look, you can see that almost the whole letter could fit in between each letter. That's not quite economic, is it? You know, these letters should almost touch each other to produce a completely clean print and still be sensible. But as you can see, they feel quite generous with your tape.